Okay, so thank you for staying with us. Welcome back from the break. You're still watching the Morning Rush Friday edition of the show with me, Desifini the Starboy, and Nanaya Tanobwache. We mentioned earlier that this morning we're talking about empowering the girl child, and there's a young lady with a group of doing some amazing stuff that we need to talk about this morning. So join us on set today is AISHA ADDO, who is the founder of Power to Girls Foundation, and they've got something amazing coming up very, very soon, and moving from schools to schools, you know, empowering young girls, telling them that yes, you can, and that's what we all need to do to help them out. And so we've got her here to talk about it. So Aisha, good morning.
Good morning.
You good?
I'm fine.
Fantastic. Good to see you.
Thank you for having me.
Power to Girls. I mean, the name is quite interesting. How did the name come about?
The name actually was originally going to be My Sister and Me, or Girl of Power, but I realized that Power to Girls was a bit more, you know, strong and impactful, so we went with it. Yeah, but it was actually my dad actually came up with the name.
Power to Girls.
Yeah.
Oh, I like the fact that your dad came up with it. I mean, we support you always. We are there for you. But what has been your experience so far that you felt like you need to put up this group to be able to help other people, other young girls?
So I think one of the main things really is around creating safe spaces for young girls, but then also providing them with resources and skills. For myself and the team, one of the things that we've been working on, and one of the experiences that we've had, is that, you know, the issues that young girls face are not just, they're not in silos, right? In order for anybody to be able to have a fulfilling life, or to be able to have an impactful life, there are resources and there are supports that they need, and they can never always do it by themselves. So we are there to provide that helping hand, that support. Our programs are basically designed to provide, you know, personal development, mental health, mentorship, entrepreneurship, and tech-based programs. So we look at the empowerment as a very holistic thing. And in addition, we also have a power fund that really supports young girls in entrepreneurship and also pursuing higher education. So we really look at the economic empowerment as well as, you know, the personal development and empowerment as well. And like I said, very holistic in terms of our approach. So.
Okay, that's good to hear. So how long has you know, Power to Girls been running, and what have been some of the activities that you have embarked on? If you could just share with us.
So Power to Girls is actually over 10 years old.
Over 10?
Yes, it started out in Canada. We've been in Ghana from 2016, 2017.
Okay.
We've been running programs. We've worked with over 2,000 girls over the course of our existence here in Ghana. We run programs within the schools, and every year we do the Power of a Girl conference to celebrate International Day of a Girl Child. The conference brings together 1,000+ girls from JHS and SHS, really providing them with workshops, access to mentors, and different activities really to celebrate them and to celebrate the day. And like I mentioned earlier, we also have the Power Fund that supports girls in that are pursuing higher education, as well as entrepreneurship as a way of economic empowerment. So we're very focused on like the holistic well-being of girls, and, you know, we do different activities throughout the year. But yeah, this is my baby.
That's nice. That's nice to hear. In your interaction with the young ladies, what are some of the things that you get to hear? You know, the things that you get surprised at.
So I'll share a quite recent one. So the team and I went to Doma Riafe with Owusua, who was the runner-up for Ghana's Most Beautiful. So we did an activation in her hometown, and the stories that we heard were quite heartbreaking. One of the things that really stood out is the fact that because of lack of access to sanitary pads and because of the high poverty rate in that community, girls engage in sexual activities to be able to get sanitary pads. And some of them end up getting pregnant. So that community has one of the highest rates of teenage pregnancy as well. And, you know, when you go into the community and you go into that community, you see that there's not a lot of social interventions, there's not a lot of social programs as well. So the youth have a lot of time. So that was one of the things that really stood out for me. But I think the other aspect is really the lack of access to sanitary pads and how that in itself affects a young girl's education, her well-being, among many other things. So it's really, you know, there are a lot of things that maybe sometimes individuals that we take for granted. And you see how, you know, like there are girls that would have sexual interactions with someone for 20 cedis because they want to be able to get a sanitary pad or because they want to be able to have a meal that day, right? So it's very, very, very little things that really creates that big impact. So for us, it's really how do we make sure that we're not just providing that empowerment, but that we're also providing the resources that allows for girls to stay in school, to be able to excel in their education, for them to be able to really navigate the world the way that, you know, they should, and they shouldn't necessarily be punished for being girls or for the natural things that happens to them. So yeah,
that's interesting. Sometimes it's very disheartening to hear some of these barriers that are preventing girls from, I mean, excelling in their individual choices. But then sometimes running this organization over a period and the experiences, sometimes when we talk about empowerment, is the lack of empowerment an issue of like equality or equity? What exactly is the problem? Because we keep on hammering on it. We have organizations coming in to talk about women empowerment, girls empowerment. Let's make away with things that are preventing them, the things that are blocking them. What exactly is the issue? Is it an issue of lack of equality or equity issue?
That's a really good question. It's an issue of lack of equity, right? So a lot of times folks look at equality and say, okay, you know, we are fighting for equality, but actually, like, even to take it a step further, we're fighting for freedom in the sense that, like, we don't have to be punished, for lack of a better word, for who we are, right, and for our gender. So when we look at the word equity, it's not necessarily around, it's not really around being equal with the opposite sex or anything like that. It's really around ensuring that my skills and my resources are taken into account for what it is and not as a result of my gender. And I think that's one of the key things that we talk about, right? Because we've had instances where people say, what about the boys? And I'm like, you know, you're absolutely right. What about the boys? Because when we are empowering girls or we're providing them with the resources, they still have to live in this world with boys, right? But then the question always, I kind of like ask the question, and usually it's men that ask me that question. And I say, well, what are you doing about it? Because we've tried programming with boys and they don't listen to me. They're like, what do you know about the experiences of men? They're absolutely right. I don't. So I think it's really, when we talk about the equity issue, it's really a matter of equity, because a young boy might not necessarily miss school as a result of their menstrual flow because they don't experience that, right? And then when we are looking, and when you take all of those things into account, that means that the disparity between girls' education and boys' education keeps getting wider, because in a month, for between 4 to 7 days, and for some people even 14 days, will be bleeding. And if as a young girl I don't have access to sanitary pad and I'm missing school for that 14 days, and my male counterpart is in school for that 14 days, and there's a huge gap, and calculate that over a year or over 8 months that you're in school, right? So it's really around equity, and when we talk about equity, we're talking about access to resources. We're talking about access to support. We're talking about, you know, the holistic aspect of a person, and not just, you know, oh, you know, you're doing this girls empowerment thing, and you know, it's always about the girls, but there's so much more that goes into it than just, you know.
So it's at this point that I realized that my co-host is the backing vocalist, and she said, yes, it's true.
But it is.
No, because really,
you didn't see from that angle.
No, the thing is that I cannot relate.
Okay.
I mean, and that's what I get, that, you know, we all have aunties, boyfriend, girlfriends, wives, you know, who go through this experience, and we have to understand. We have to understand. But how is it important also that for people like yourself who found a pathway, bring on board people like Nanaya who've also found their way through, to be able to mentor and encourage these girls?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And I actually love the fact that you mentioned that, because one of the pillars of Power to Girls is really around mentorship, and mentorship is something that is very, very important, because, and even for young men as well, right? One of the things that we've realized that for a lot of girls, they don't aspire to be because they don't see themselves in those positions. They don't see themselves represented even in their communities, right? So for example, if you go into a community that doesn't necessarily have access to, let's say, social media or, you know, media in general, and you're asking them what they aspire to be, they're going to tell you what they see around them, right? They're not going to say, okay, maybe a doctor, or, you know, a lawyer, or an engineer, or influencer,
or a journalist,
or a journalist.
A TV person like Nanaya.
Exactly, right? Because they don't necessarily see that. And I think that's where, you know, folks like yourself come into play, is that, like, sometimes it's really around also sharing your personal story and letting them know that, hey, I know what it's like to be a 15-year-old girl. I know what it's like to be a 17-year-old girl, and this is how I navigated it. But, you know, it doesn't mean that it's all roses and it's, you know, everything is going to work out perfectly. You're going to go through challenges, but if you persevere and you have the right resources and the right support, you're able to make it through. So mentorship is something that is very, very vital at Power to Girls.
That's good. And you normally facilitate your programs through in-person and virtual.
Yes.
And technology has been helping you run this for some time now.
Yes.
That's very good. So even if the person doesn't come, you get to be on Zoom wherever you are across the world and participate.
Yes, so we have a platform that allows for girls to actually connect with mentors from different parts of the world. So those that have access to smartphones can always download the My Para app and basically connect with women, connect with other girls, and then also, you know, we have self-paced courses and learnings on there as well, so they're able to go on there and really have access to all the resources that we provide at Power to Girls in person as well.
And talking about the digital part, that brings me to your upcoming program that is at Achimota. Tell us about it. And the theme is...
So our time is now. At first it was digital generation, our generation, but it's our time is now, our right to our future. And it's actually happening at the OSU Presby Hall. We're bringing together JHS and SHS girls across Accra specifically. So we're expecting over 1,000 girls at the conference. It's going to be a full day of activity, of fun, but really and truly like connecting with mentors, participating in different workshops. You know, I'm personally super excited about the self-defense workshop that's going to be happening. We have some tech workshops, robotics workshops as well. So it's going to be really a hands-on event, but then also really just full of excitement and empowerment.
Have you invited specific schools?
Yes, so we worked with GES to invite very specific schools around the venue, but then it's also open to young girls that are interested in attending as well. They just have to go on our social media and register. That's
good to hear, and so wish you the very best. As Naya was asking about the schools, I'm sure she's talking about Accra girls.
Oh yeah, I mean.
Oh, are you a geese?
Yeah, geese. Oh yes, I'm an Agosa.
Really?
Yes.
We actually have some really amazing girls that have gone through a program specifically from Accra girls, and they are amazing.
Yeah.
So.
I went to geese. I did visual arts.
Oh,
yes.
Okay, I went to Damascus.
The reason why I said visual actors, I don't know why I always say visual arts with pride. I love the
you don't have a lot of ladies who go. I mean, in the senior high school say that I'm doing visual arts.
We're inviting you to come to the conference.
Okay,
please give her a microphone.
No, I'm not this one.
but yeah, it's amazing what you're doing. I wish you the very best. So that's next week, 14th.
The 11th.
11th. Just keep getting.
No worries.
So that's 11th at Chimota.
No, so it's at OSU Presby.
OSU Presby. Oh, so it's
okay. So Wednesday, next week Wednesday.
Yes, that's International Day of a Girl Child. It's going from 8 a.m. to 3 p.m.
Okay. All right, Aisha, we wish you the very best.
Thank you very much for having me.
All right, so Aisha Addo is the founder of Power to Girls Foundation, talking about empowering young girls and all that, and their program is next week. So do also follow them on social media, Power to Girls. I'm sure you find them on there.